to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. We're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. However you're doing so, however you're able to get to us, however you're best able to see, interact, however you are most wanting to do all those things, particularly on a day like today, because Friday is, of course, one of our most important days of the week. Just very much a personal opinion here, I'll admit that much, but it's Free-for-All Friday, meaning we're taking y'all's comments, calls, questions, concerns, even a spare email or two, like that one that I hadn't quite silenced my computer chime there for, if you caught that going over the radio waves. But actually, someone giving me the answer to one of those questions I've been putting forth, saying that there is a balloon at the Border Patrol station on the old Columbus Highway. So, thinking that there is an aerostat out there, I need to reach out a little bit more officially. Just want to make sure I wasn't hallucinating that on my own, because, I mean, it's far out there. I hadn't had a chance to go actually see it myself. So, I appreciate someone responding back to that. But also, Monica Cervantes over on the social media, wishing everyone a TGIF and Free-for-All Friday as well, certainly. And we got a lot to delve into here today. A couple of things just top of mind as we're getting into this. Don't worry, we'll still be doing the comments, calls, and all of that coming right into it, as we certainly are. But a couple of things, both kind of reviewing of this week as getting into for next week, from our news partners at KFOX 14 out today, El Paso city leaders to discuss extending emergency declaration. On a Monday, they're going to be having the, I believe it's the work session for city council, then the actual meeting. Two ordinances regarding the border security and immigration situation. One, potentially extending the city manager's authorization to assign personnel and resources to assist in addressing the humanitarian and public safety situation that has resulted from the migration numbers at the southern border. And the second one would consider re-extending is the disaster declaration. That's the one that was put into place ahead of May 11th, ahead of Title 42. Ending by Mayor Oscar Leeser, and was reauthorized, I believe, May 8th, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Put into place April 30th and extended May 8th, according to our news partners at KFOX 14, even as the numbers still remain muted from expectations and from the high water points that we were seeing in the last week, but still a lot of kind of trepidation of what comes next, as we also have Austin Redfern wishing greetings to myself and to the Talk El Paso family, as also Marky Mandingo. Good afternoon to you as well. So there's still more going on there. And of course, statewide, we've been talking about that like border security force that had been partially getting reauthorized and some back and forth as we've been past some of those critical deadlines for the extension or the continuation of the legislative session. Some other bills now getting wrapped up into that, including that would expand the scope of that, creating a mandatory 10-year minimum sentence for human smugglers and making it a crime for migrants to enter anywhere in the state but a port of entry, according to the Texas Tribune there, as well as reporting by El Paso Matters, which is also reporting as of this week that there are still large amounts of migrants in Border Patrol custody in this area, about 4,000 reported in this, down from 6,000 as of May 12th, but 4,000 as of currently. Similar numbers to what we've been talking about with that migrant crisis dashboard. So still a lot of swirling factors surrounding border security and immigration, even as there are some other things. Yeah, debt ceiling talks going on nationally, the Durham report, and particularly that focus that I've been delving a bit more into on, what is it, Section 702. So there's a lot going on, and I'm sure a lot to be brought up. So let's just go ahead and dive straight into those phone lines. Again, as a reminder, if you're calling in the middle of a segment, stay on the line, because once we greet you, we'll get your name on the list. But otherwise, might get popped up live. So let's go ahead and dive right into that. We do have, starting us off today, Eric on the east side with us right now. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Okay, yeah, I guess I'll start off just quickly pointing out that Paul Manafort, Trump's campaign manager, he admitted to giving Trump campaign strategy and data to Russian intelligence. Like, conservatives just don't give a damn. They put conservatism and Trump ahead of, the very foundations of our country and loyalty to it. And, but, I didn't want to dwell too much on, the traitorous nature of conservatives and their blind partisanship. But, I wanted to really touch on how they also reject Christian values at their very core when it comes to immigration. It is Friday, but I'll go speak about immigration still.
Sure.
The Bible specifically says, when a foreigner resides among you in your land, do not mistreat them. The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you are foreigners in Egypt. I am the Lord your God. There's very little room or zero room for interpretation there. And, one of the 10 commandments says, thou shalt not bear false witness. Lying goes against, the 10 commandments. And conservatives on the station lie all the time in defense of their conservative political tribe. Christian values and conservative tribalism are at odds with one another. They contradict. So Christian conservatives, it's an oxymoron. I've pointed that out to you in the past.
Right, yeah, the whole no true Scotsman fallacy that we've been circling around here. That now they call themselves Christians, but they're not true Christians. Because again, telling people that no, these are what your values actually are often ends up working out that well. One of those kind of unanswered questions that we've had there is about has anyone telling you that you're bad or evil ever actually changed your mind? But let's not try to go around that bend again. So, okay, let's talk about the actual policies that we've got into place then. I mean, some of the issues that we've been talking about the actual, policies, security, et cetera, coming along with this has been, I've put this as a actual capacity issue because, we may or may not have seen that solved-ish in our region to keep it local again for the moment, as you're talking about here, given that we had seen after some apparent policy or at least enforcement changes happening in and around, say, the Sacred Heart Church area specifically, that we saw, there's still a lot in custody, again, about 4,000, as is represented both by the reporting by El Paso Matters, as well as the numbers so far from it's not quite updated yet, but over on the El Paso, Texas.gov/migrant-crisis dashboard, still saying that the CBP in custody rolling 7-day average is about 4,800. I think that's the same as yesterday. I don't believe that has changed at all. So we are still seeing a lot in custody in our region. But not so much like on the streets that we were in the previous days, which was, I will note, a big question that I had coming in this morning. I had a brief appearance on the KOA Denver, their morning news show, to talk about this, where they saw a busload, one of the ones that Governor Greg Abbott had sent along this morning, on the order of like 50 to 100. I think it was probably closer to 50, and they're kind of wanting to get a little bit of information on the scope and circumstance of this. But okay, so to the idea of loving thy neighbor as thyself, other parts of what Scripture, of course, talks about. Is there, in your mind at all, reasonable regulation that can be done on this, or is this you just got to take it as you come if you're really wanting to put, practice and Scripture into practice?
Well, of course, there's increasing the asylum judges and such not. But, the dehumanization and demonization of these Christian Hispanic immigrants by Christian conservatives in the name of partisanship and tribalism, with their lies, assumptions, and intellectually dishonest research is the very definition of putting conservative partisanship ahead of Christian values, the truth and the well-being of these human beings, which transcends any type of allegiance one has to one's moral religious code. And if one doesn't legitimately care about the facts of the impact of the immigrants on the country enough to do intellectually honest research, then they're just putting their conservative political tribe ahead of their values that Jesus clearly promoted, that I quoted. There's zero ambiguity on how immigrants should be treated and foreigners. And just, conservatives just don't value the teachings of Jesus because of the lies told by Fox News and people like you.
Okay, so if you're bringing up me directly here, you've often accused me of doing things like this without actually like having anything to back it up. I think you've mostly been on a line about something about I didn't say this, therefore I'm lying, like trying to do like an inverse live omission here. Been pretty clear, and I cite pretty much all the sources. I mean, one of the ones that I'm citing more often than not is again the El Paso, Texas.gov/migrant-crisis page here. But you're calling me lying about the immigration policy when you've been very loud and wrong about it yourself, including being mad at me about using the terms disaster declaration, which is the technical language that was used by the city of El Paso, or the amount of people that were expected to be around the Sacred Heart area?
Yes, I repeatedly corrected you. There are two disaster declarations. There's a state of emergency and a state of disaster. You incorrectly stated the mayor declared a state of disaster but when in reality, he declared a state of emergency. Both are disaster declarations, but you refuse to correct that.
You just literally said that they are what they are, my dude. Okay, so if you were just going to go back around the bend on this one, that's fun enough. But then also on the idea that the number of migrants that were and around the actual Sacred Heart area when you were loudly lambasting me about that, and still have yet to hear an apology about you from that one, I will note.
Yeah, the day that you said that, KVI released a video aerial footage of the immigrants around Sacred Heart, and there clearly wasn't thousands. But more substance, the asylum denial rates, you've consistently misinformed El Paso, your followers about that, referencing to Syracuse. The asylum denial rates in El Paso are not in the high 90s, as you've repeatedly said for months now.
Okay, then what are they?
In real time, back when you had said it, and looking at your source, the Syracuse one, only one immigration judge out of the 6 in El Paso had a denial rate above 90%. And that is, oddly enough, the only one that you cited out of the 6. And the range of asylum denial rates of El Paso immigration judges is between 74.5% and 95.9%.
I believe if you're going to try to go down the whole quote me and get the context wrong thing again here, that the rates are as high as that. But it's still, I mean, there are other areas, and the major point I was making at that point in time is that there are other areas in which there are a lot better rates, but you got to admit, at the very least, even within that range, it's not exactly a good chance to get through and get an asylum case. It's way worse than even odds. You got to admit that at least, right?
This broader context that I'll add, this is that those numbers that you were looking at and misrepresented, this is based on their rulings between 2017 and 2022, which only 902 rulings have been made. And the average of those denial rates is 81.85%, not in the high 90s, as you've repeatedly misinformed your listeners about. So you're recklessly and uncritically promoting misinformation about the subject that you speak about daily.
Okay, I'm not even sure what you're like very mad about here when it comes to here, because I mean the range still goes up to that 90%. But even then, are you happy about these numbers? What is even the impact that you're talking about here? That's not totally clear here.
Well, the fact is, you didn't say the range was in the high 90s. You said the asylum denial rates are in the high 90s. And you did that, and it's only 902 asylum cases. There's still a lot on the books. You not caring about this nuance and it dehumanizes these people and promotes fear and the alarmism.
Whoa, buddy. All I'm doing is I'm citing the numbers here. So to go straight to it, anyone want to follow along at home, trac.syr.edu/php tool/immigration/asylum. I'll try to actually post up the link instead here, showing that, actually going back, if I'm not mistaken, about towards the year 2000, the numbers actually being started tracked there from, again, asylum decisions, El Paso, EPD, all cases, not the ones that are either represented or non-represented. The total amount of cases in that time, about 2,146 to be exact, if we're going to play that way about it. The asylum relief was denied 1,783 times, whereas asylum was granted 320 times, with 43 other relief granted in there. So still in this area, and again, I'm not quite sure you're getting the dehumanization number of it. That's just the facts and the numbers. If you like it or not, that's your prerogative to say, but Literally, all I'm talking about is the fact that someone saying that asylum is just a pass-through would not be correct in our area. In fact, it's very difficult in our area. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, the numbers I'm referencing are the specific rulings, not like that actually go to court, not the preliminary ones in general.
These are decisions
and
I just mentioned.
You
These are decisions.
You referenced that asylum denial rate of 99% to blindly reject that Wharton School findings that I had referenced to say that, well, these asylum seekers, they get denied. But when you look at the studies and the methodology, you learn how to look at these subjects more honestly. Like if their asylum is denied and they're not given legal access, that means they're no longer going to be beneficiaries of Social Security and Medicare, which is the largest contribution to their federal impact on the tax revenues. So to cite the 99% denial case.
I have not said 99%, but go on.
Excuse me?
I have not said 99%. I've said high 90s because we've seen it up that
90s.
way. So if you're going to quote me right.
You were referencing that number to ignore the fact that that study had said that they are net contributors to the federal budget, the federal tax revenues.
Okay, we've been doing this for a long and getting a lot of flack in the comments here already. Let me just put it this way. I have not disagreed with you on that point. My dude, it seems like you always want to pick the fight here, and you often ignore the parts where we don't disagree because those aren't that exciting, I guess, get you worked up here. I mean, the Wharton School, the one that you got from 2016, I do believe, does cite about the impacts, and even the one that I found from last year from the same institution you're talking about here does say that there are net benefits in the long term from legal immigration, of which asylum granted cases would be a part of it. But that one, the more recent one, also does cite that there are going to be detriments and increasing government deficits from there being anything along the lines of, mass amnesty, legalization, changes to it outside of the otherwise legal pathways as being not a total benefit like you're talking about there. But also the fact of the matter is that, again, in our area, it's not a good bet for anyone wanting to try to come here and claim asylum for anything other than completely legitimate purposes. We think they're going to be able to squeak in, be able to get in under the radar. It's simply not going to happen in this area. That's the point I've been getting to and been making, which is one of the reasons it's been interesting to me to see the changes and patterns that have been happening, because coming to this area, as much as it's been, it's always been happening at very, 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 very much lower levels, but the huge spikes that we've seen in the last few years, I want to say back like 2014, 2016 is when you can start seeing at least the inklings of it, if not the total arrivals right in the El Paso Border Patrol sector, as opposed to, say, the either coast, has made that a stranger picture. So if you're taking a conclusion after this about that data that therefore they're bad, I think you're going to be hard-pressed to find anything about me saying that. I'm just presenting the facts and the data. If you disagree with it or you don't like what the implications are, that's between you and, as other questions are coming in, your God in this case. Anyway, let's go ahead and take that next break right now. Appreciate the point and the call, but yeah, we got to move on, take that next break right now. So coming after this break, we'll get to more calls, more comments, more of everything on the line. If you actually want to have a discussion with me, I'll tend to entertain that more often than not, as is one of my foibles apparently. But let's get back on track, back to that break, and then back to the phone lines after this with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. That number again, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A multi-vehicle crash on North Desert Boulevard at Artcraft is causing big backups on North Desert and on I-10. From Wrestler up to Artcraft is a 15-minute delay. Southbound on the 54, Stan Roberts down to Kenworthy, 36-minute delays. And slow traffic eastbound Montana starting to back up with 17-minute delays from Admiral out to Zaragoza. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America. Have you listened to Red Pilled America yet? It's the one-of-a-kind storytelling show that everyone is talking about. We tell
good old-fashioned stories, the kind of stories Hollywood will never tell. Join the independent media revolution and start listening to Red Pilled America anywhere you get podcasts. That's Red Pilled America.
Car crimes are on the rise. Protect yourself and your valuables this holiday season. When you park your car, always lock it down. Never leave keys in your vehicle. Never leave your windows down. Don't leave your valuables in plain sight, or you might return to a terrible sight. Try to park in well-lit areas. And most importantly, always lock it down. Brought to you by the Insurance Council of Texas and the Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority. Learn more at lockitdowntx.com.
The Window Depot is more than a window store. The Window Depot is a one-stop warehouse with everything you need for your complete home remodel. Shop the aisles of pre-built cabinets in a variety of colors, granite and quartz countertops, sinks, skylights, and hardware to complete your project. Need a custom order? We can help. Our designers offer free design services and can special order everything you need for your kitchen or bathroom remodel today. Shop thewindowdepot.com or find a location near you. The Window Depot. More than a window store.
Attend the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, May 20th through the 21st at the Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University Avenue, Las Cruces, New Mexico. See dealers selling the finest and modern guns, custom knives, scopes, huge selection of ammo, and much more. Buy, sell, and trade at the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, May 20th through the 21st at the Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University Avenue, Las Cruces, New Mexico. Get $2 off admission. Go to azgunradio.com.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-334-2266. That's 800-334-2266. 800-334-2266.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
This is high blood pressure. Get back on your plan. Go to loweryourhbp.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv. Andrew J. Polk, of course, got those comments coming in, including some other interesting ones. And listen, I'm not trying to subject anyone to anything, but I'm definitely here for the discussion and the debate. Let no one ever say that I'm not willing to get into it, even if sometimes the really long version of it is not quite what we're set up for in this format. And I got to remind myself of that sometimes. Listen, I got foibles just like anyone else, and sometimes I forget I'm dragging other people along for the ride. Any case, if you want to get on the line, add your 2 cents. The number to do so is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Yeah, I like to argue. If anyone was at all unclear about that idea, let me just dispel that for you right now. So let's get back on track here with the points. We do have Jerry in the Northwest in line with us right now. Jerry, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew, for taking my call.
Yeah, sure thing. What's on your mind?
Well, if your last listener is still, your last caller is still listening, he also needs to look up Romans 13, 1 through 14. Romans chapter 13, verses 1 through 14, where it states that we are to obey the laws of the nation we are in. And coming across the border illegally is breaking the laws. That's exactly why Joe Biden said and is upholding that if you come into the United States, not through a port of entry and with the assistance of Border Patrol, then you are breaking the law and you will be removed from the United States. You will be sent away back to the country of origin or back to Mexico. So if Christians are breaking the law, complaining about the illegals, then Joe Biden is too. So does that make sense to you?
It does. Another
Andrew?
phrase that comes to mind here is, of course, render that which is Caesar's unto Caesar's and that which is God unto God. But we're not trying to become a theological debate society here, but of course it has been brought up.
Well, that's exactly. But that's not what I wanted to talk about.
Sure.
I wanted to talk about the Mueller report, the
Durham. The Durham report.
Durham report. Yes, the Durham report. And his findings that the FBI conducted an illegal operation, Operation Crossfire Hurricane, against President Trump. During that time, they were relying on a false information from a foreign agent named Steele that happened to work for MI5 or MI6 in England or Great Britain. He was a foreign agent working for basically our equivalent of the CIA. And he was gathering up information that he was given through other foreign agents that were from Australia. Then when they were talking to a man named Papadopoulos in a bar in England. So this information got back to the United States and the FBI through Hillary Clinton and the DNC, Democratic National Committee, which she was controlling, although she had another woman hired on, but did not allow that woman to control the money flow, which is against the law also. And Hillary Clinton had to pay a fine in the state of New York of $113,000 for the same crimes that they're blaming Donald Trump of committing for this new thing that they recently charged Trump of doing in New York. So, did you happen to look and see Glenn Beck's special last night?
Not last night, I'll say that. End up being focused most on the local stuff, even though I was doing the deep dive into Durham today as part of that, because I figured it would come up, given the way it's been talked about a few times already this week.
Okay. Well, it's worth looking at.
Okay.
He had a special, and you can find it on YouTube. It's called The Reckoning Guide of the Biden administration and Hunter Biden and his crimes that he committed. And so you'll learn that Hunter Biden committed over 170 crimes, and that there were 170 flags from banks from the United States that were put on his businesses, and he had over 20, him and his family, 9 people in his family, had over 20 shell companies where they were receiving money from other nations like China and Russia and Romania and Ukraine as bribery money to buy influence through Joe Biden. It's worth looking at. And
fair enough.
If people are interested in what they can do, they can go to this website, thereckoningguide.com. The in capital R ECKONING capital GUIDE.com, and learn how to help bring this to fruition, to bring it up so that Hunter Biden can be brought up on the charges that he should be brought up on.
Fair enough. Well, so I haven't looked at that part as much, but on the Durham report on its own here, I mean, I think there's a lot that's been talked about it. But what I'll say is that the Section 702 part, the Foreign Intelligence FISA, that has been talked about that ever since the 2016 election, warrants, et cetera, parts on that. And the fact that even the Washington Post reporting today, I do believe, yes, as of May 19th, that, well, just quoting directly from their first sentence here, the FBI has misused a powerful digital surveillance tool more than 278,000 times, including against crime victims, January 6 riot suspects, people arrested at protests after the killings of George Floyd in 2020, and in one case, 19,000 donors of a congressional candidate, according to a newly unsealed court document. I don't think it doesn't seem initially, at the very least, that from the Durham report there will be any immediate prosecutions or move towards it. I mean, there's been a lot of kind of like comparisons to the Miller report and other things, but this one, at the very least, it's not a good look. But this one could potentially lead to, at the very least, I mean, the FBI says that they have fixed these programs again, according to the Washington Post in this case. But let's just say I wouldn't be at all surprised if there was further investigation into it.
If they fixed them, then where are the charges against Hunter Biden? He bought a weapon, a firearm, when he lied on the form that you're supposed to fill in and not have used drugs for, I don't know, what is it, 2 years or something like that? Currently under the influence of drugs. He smoked crack the night before he went and bought it. So that's against the law. And he admitted it. It was on his laptop. So if they're fixed, if the FBI is correcting these problems, why is not Hunter Biden under arrest?
I think we're talking about two slightly different things there. But again, I'll say this before, and I've said it again, I'm sure I will before too long. Anyone that's committed a crime that needs to be held accountable should be done so, regardless of their position, regardless of connections or whatnot here. But in terms of this specific report, that's maybe one of the longer term or maybe more substantive aspects that is likely to come out of it. Whether or not that is satisfying to people is another issue entirely, I do believe.
Yeah, and like they say, nobody's above the law. So why is Hunter not being charged? Anyway, I'll let you go because I know there's other callers that want to get more in depth into this.
Yep, fair enough here. Well, appreciate the point of the call. You have a good one there as well. All right, and with that, let's go ahead and take that break, get back on track. And again, if you want to get on that line, the number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 News Update. A 25-year-old teacher in El Paso has been arrested on murder charges in connection to a deadly beating that happened 2 years ago. Matthew Mendoza was arrested yesterday at MacArthur Pre-K through 8 school on the east side. The murder charge stems from an incident that happened in August of 2021. Eric Hernandez was identified as the murder victim. Mendoza is accused of striking Hernandez with a steering wheel lock, which is believed to have killed Hernandez. All El Paso water parks will not be opening until Memorial Day weekend. This comes after a 3-year-old boy drowned at a city park in northeast El Paso last weekend. According to a statement from the city of El Paso, in light of recent events, we want to ensure that we are providing not only great customer service, but also a safe and healthy environment for the upcoming summer season. This has been your KFOX 14 News Update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Traffic is slowing from an accident I-10 eastbound at the East Lake Drive exit in the lower valley. The right lane is blocked. On North Desert Boulevard at Artcraft, an earlier crash has been moved off to the left shoulder, but the backup remains. Back to Wrestler with 15-minute delays. I-10 westbound at the 54 exit. The left interchange ramp to the 110 south is blocked due to congestion. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Weather changes on the way for your Saturday. A front is going to be blowing in overnight tonight. That's going to keep our highs in the upper 70s to lower 80s, so a cooler one for tomorrow. Also, we're going to see a 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms for your Saturday. Keep an eye to the sky if you have outdoor plans. For your Sunday, partly cloudy skies. As drier conditions return, we'll see highs in the mid to upper 80s on Sunday. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Bank of America. Bank of America has powerful digital solutions for local and global businesses, so you can make every move matter. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America, N.A., copyright 2023.
Have you ever thought about what you would do if you had an unplanned pregnancy and how it could potentially change your life? There are a lot of preconceived notions about adoption. And most people do not understand how adoption has changed to empower women and girls. And birth mothers can choose if and how they want to be in their baby's life, whether it be communication through calls, letters, or visits on special occasions. To learn more about modern adoption and resources available, go to modernadoptionplans.org.
El Paso Electric is proud to present The Installers, live in your neighborhood. With their unique talent, they're bringing smart meters to every home and business and harmonies your electric bill. Smart meters give you the power to control energy use so you can rock and save every month. Let me see your hands in the air. Doors open spring 2023. Find your tour date at epelectric.com/smartmeter.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas once accused Democrats of a high-tech lynching. Are they doing it again? JCN's Carrie Severino joins me on The Truth with Lisa Booth to get to the bottom of the left's new attempts to delegitimize the court. Listen to The Truth with Lisa Booth on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This report is sponsored by The Truth with Lisa Booth.
Kids dream big. Protect your child's dreams by keeping them healthy. If your son or daughter is age 11 or 12, the American Cancer Society recommends giving them the HPV vaccine to help prevent HPV cancers later. Learn more at cancer.org/dreambig.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. A lot of people tuning in, chiming in, adding their 2 cents, dropping those likes and reacts that we certainly appreciate, including Amber Vanda, Bernadette Bandicole, Matt Olson, Ted Kors, Ida Beza Gardner, Austin Redfern, Ion Graham, James Ratcliffe, John Browston, Marky Mandingo, Flaco Jimenez, James Holmes, Monica Cervantes, and Robbie Flores. It is absolutely one of our most important days of the week. Free for all Friday. That's what we call it, and that's what we do. Getting into as much as we can cram into 2 hours of the show. Hard to believe they're already this far into this hour already, but hey, time flies when you're having fun, in air quotes, for those that can't see me over on the radio. Let's dive right back into it and get to more of it here. We do have Ben on the east side here with us right now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Oh, Andrew. To Eric, 170 suspicious activity banking reports against the Biden crime family. What was the Biden crime family doing to receive these payments from foreign countries like China, Russia, Albania, Ukraine, and others? What service or product were they providing for these payments?
All I'm going to say is that back in 70s, 80s, they made Jimmy Carter give up his family peanut farm, and we're a whole lot away from that standard is all I'm going to say.
Didn't have to do anything with foreign governments. Okay. Did you watch the FBI whistleblower testimony the other day? Before the House Judiciary Committee?
Have not been up on my House committee, I'll admit. Have not been up on much of my House testimony lately. Has been dealing with the local stuff, but what were the points you wanted to make from it?
Okay. 3 whistleblowers, military decorated, exemplary, patriotic men went before the House Judiciary Committee the other day and told the stories about how the FBI destroyed their lives and lives of their family. One whistleblower, his wife, and 4 children, all under the age of 6, one was 2 weeks old, were all sent across the United States. And when they arrived, the FBI took away his security clearance and job, his means to support his family. Held on to their clothes for 6 weeks. They had to live off the kindness of family and others. And because he reported, all because he reported to his superiors of his concerns that the FBI was violating the constitutional rights of their fellow citizens. They told story, and similar stories were told by the other two whistleblowers. They told of stories and things that the FBI were doing to people that were in Washington, D.C. from January 5th to the 7th, and other activities the FBI were engaged in against American rights. And all the Dems on the other side were arguing about was whether these patriots met the definition of whistleblowers. They didn't care, could care less that these men's lives have been destroyed. The FBI and the Dems on the committee were sending a message to the American people, just like they did, they're doing with the January 6ers, that if you question us, there will be a price to pay. So toe the line, shut up, or as one of the whistleblowers said, they will crush you.
Much like with the Durham reports, it's even if I'm not as up on the full stats of it, it's not a good look in any case. And the whole issues that come with, integrity and confidence in major and essential public agencies is concerning even at its highest level without getting into any of the specifics you got in there. So I'm going to say that I've been able to review the report from at least the release. The full interim report is 80 pages long. So I'll admit I've not delved into that one from that whistleblower testimony that you're talking about. But anytime we've got these kind of major questions and have been going on for a few years now, let's just put it that way, it's not a good trajectory. I'll definitely say that.
Yeah, and that didn't have anything to do with the Durham report. That has
right.
to do with three patriotic individuals who were concerned about their fellow citizens.
Oh yeah, no, sorry if I referenced the Durham report, my apologies. Yeah, no, there's the interim staff report of the FBI whistleblower testimony highlights government abuse, misallocation of resources, and retaliation. That one on its own is 80 pages.
Okay, well, please take a moment. It's about maybe 30 minutes. Look at that. Look at that video about the House Judiciary Committee. I think you want to throw up in your mouth, okay, because of what the Democratic House members were saying against these people. I mean, just despicable individuals, despicable. And with that, you got any comments?
No, I'll have to look deeper into that one here. I've just been able to do the executive summary here. So again,
they've got plenty of videos out.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And they have the whole video from on one of the sites that you can come onto, and it like I said, have a trash can handy so you can have some place to puke. Okay.
Well, fair enough.
Stay well, stay safe. God bless.
All right. Well, appreciate the point in the call.
Let's go, Brandon.
Appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Thank you.
All right. With that, let's go ahead and take that next break right now. I know we're doing like one per segment, but we'll get back on track here. So we got more coming out of this break. And again, if you want to get on that line, as it is Free for All Friday, we're taking on everything. Ready or not, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. A 25-year-old teacher in El Paso has been arrested on murder charges in connection to a deadly beating that happened 2 years ago. Matthew Mendoza was arrested yesterday at MacArthur Pre-K through 8 school on the east side. The murder charge stems from an incident that happened in August of 2021. Eric Hernandez was identified as the murder victim. Mendoza is accused of striking Hernandez with a steering wheel lock, which is believed to have killed Hernandez. All El Paso water parks will not be opening until Memorial Day weekend. This comes after a 3-year-old boy drowned at a city park in northeast El Paso last weekend. According to a statement from the city of El Paso, in light of recent events, we want to ensure that we are providing not only great customer service, but also a safe and healthy environment for the upcoming summer season. This has been your KFOX 14 News Update. I'm Robert Olguin.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Traffic is slowing from an accident I-10 eastbound at the East Lake Drive exit in the lower valley. The right lane is blocked. On North Desert Boulevard at Artcraft, an earlier crash has been moved off to the left shoulder, but the backup remains. Back to Wrestler with 15-minute delays. I-10 westbound at the 54 exit. The left interchange ramp to the 110 south is blocked due to congestion. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Bank of America. Bank of America has powerful digital solutions for local and global businesses, so you can make every move matter. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America N.A. Copyright 2023.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow, 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog at Target, H-E-B, and stores near you. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food, too.
Okay, so we have the car payment, the rent, utilities,
and the repair bill.
What should we do?
I know. I'm going to CashNetUSA.com. I can apply in minutes, get an instant decision, and if approved, we could have the money in our account as soon as the same business day.
When you need money fast, be the hero. Go to CashNetUSA.com to apply for the money you need now. The exact timing as to when your loan funds will be available will be determined by your banking institution.
A catalytic converter is an important component of your car's exhaust system. It's a total catastrophe if your catalytic converter is stolen. Park in well-lit areas, install a protective device, or etch on your VIN number. Learn more at LockItDownTX.com. Brought to you by the Insurance Council of Texas and the Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority.
I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter, that Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, and that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Haley, quote, Navage is the best thing I bought. I love it. My nose feels so clear now and I can breathe. I've been struggling with a stuffy nose for weeks. I bought Navage and it's amazing. Or this one. I use Navage every night, could not imagine life without it. I have 5 cats, and before I found Navage, I was a clogged mess. Now I breathe so much better, unquote. Those are 2 of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage, the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
Have you listened to Red Pilled America yet? It's the one-of-a-kind storytelling show that everyone is talking about. We tell good old-fashioned stories, the kind of stories Hollywood will never tell. Join the independent media revolution and start listening to Red Pilled America anywhere you get podcasts. That's Red Pilled America.
Rosetta Stone, where language is learned. RosettaStone.com.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app. Getting close to the end of this hour. I think we'll try to squeeze in one more call right now, but don't worry, we're going to be doing that throughout the rest of the hour, second hour as well. Free for all Friday, doing as much as we can. Never quite enough, but Dave, doing our level best in the meantime. In any case, keep that number handy, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. And yeah, I do call this airstrike on myself every week, but if you got something you want to talk about, something burning up your buttons, now's the time here. So once full up, just keep that number handy. Let's squeeze in at least one more. Like I said, we do have John over in Central on the line with us right now. John, thanks for joining us.
Hello, Andrew. It looks like I only have 5 minutes, but I can get my my comments in within 5 minutes.
Okay.
I don't need 15 minutes to go on and like other people do.
Fair enough.
One other caller. I'd like to comment on the first caller.
Sure.
You know, he mentioned a passage in the Bible, the Old Testament. It would have been a good idea for you to ask him, what is the book, the verse, the chapter verse, but I guess he wouldn't have been able to tell you. Probably not. Okay, I'll go ahead and tell the audience where this passage comes from. Exodus 22:21. Let me read it and make sure this is the one that he quoted. You must not mistreat or oppress foreigners in any way. Remember, you yourselves were once foreigners in the land of Egypt. Is that the one he mentioned over there?
That sounds similar enough.
Yeah. Okay. That is in the Old Testament. The Christians are under the New Testament, which is the grace. We call it grace, not. The Old Testament is probably still used by the Hebrews, or in present day, I guess they're called Jewish. So I don't know why he's mixing up Jewish religion with Christianity. That's one thing. One other thing. Let me just look at my notes here.
Okay.
Okay, real quickly. You know, it seems like your first caller was using the Bible to beat us over the head with it. You know, the Bible. We know. Here's the Bible. He hits us and say, "You're not following your religion." Now, that doesn't sound to me that he's a very intelligent person. What do you think?
I've often found it to be the case that someone says, well, you're not following the tenets of your own religion, when someone coming from an outside critique of it isn't necessarily interested in talking about how they perform that faith themselves either. I want to say that maybe he wasn't talking about the Exodus quotation you're mentioning there, because he was referencing the word of Jesus in this. But again, I'm not trying to put words in anyone's mouth.
Did Jesus ever say that about foreigners?
I'm not going to be okay. I am definitely not a scriptural expert, so I'm not going to claim to be 100% on that one.
I don't think you did. Oh, maybe somebody else like Jerry. I think Jerry also called in after the caller. Maybe during the next hour, maybe somebody can, or maybe Eric, since he's a very intelligent. He knows everything. Maybe he can. Maybe next week he can tell us if Jesus ever mentioned foreigners. You know, that'd be interesting to know about mistreating foreigners. That's what I like to say. Maybe somebody else can call in and say, John, you're wrong. You know, Jesus did talk about foreigners and not mistreating them.
Yeah,
okay?
Fair enough. Well, appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there. Again, not entirely intending to become a scriptural debate society, but I guess this show sometimes takes strange tangents that I never quite expected in the first place. So let's go ahead and take that next break right now, get to the top of the hour, and then coming back, we'll get to more of those phone calls as well. Anyone respond to that or any other things going on in, around, about town, or outside of it, because, hey, we're getting into all of it. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break again. 915-544-5876, that phone number. Back in a bit.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
In the lower valley, eastbound on the I-10 at East Lake Drive, an accident's blocking the right lane, and you've got delays back to the loop. An earlier crash on North Desert Boulevard at Artcraft has traffic stacked up all the way back to Wrestler Drive, 15-minute delays. Some folks taking Mesa Street northbound out of downtown, and that's a 10-minute delay. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Hey, El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sun Up Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. I have a huge announcement. Thank you for making us #1 in total sales this year. To stay #1, we're offering the biggest savings ever. Hey, Jojo, tell everyone about our exciting offers.
You got it, boss man. Get huge savings on the biggest selection of new and certified pre-owned vehicles in El Paso and surrounding areas at Sun Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Right now, get 10% off MSRP on all 2023 Ram 1500 Laramie trucks in stock. Get $5,500 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Gladiator Sport. Get super low 2.9% APR for 72 months or $5,250 cash allowance on 2023 Ram 1500 Lone Star trucks. Plus, don't worry about your trade or credit. Our aggressive lenders will push to approve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect. It's the season of huge savings at Sun & Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, at I-10 at Sun & Park Drive, or online at sunandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. 2.9% APR is $15.15 per thousand finance. All select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
KTSM AM El Paso is News Radio 690, an iHeart radio station. News on the hour and the hat. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Accused Pentagon leaker Jack Teixeira will remain behind bars while he awaits trial. Lisa Taylor reports.
A federal judge in Massachusetts ordered the 21-year-old Air National Guard member to be held in custody without bail today. Prosecutors argued Teixeira is a flight risk, while defense attorneys asked that their client be released and allowed to stay at his father's home. Teixeira was arrested last month for allegedly leaking top-secret Pentagon documents on social media.
Negotiations over the raising of the debt ceiling are on hold. Negotiators walked out of a meeting earlier today with Republican Congressman Garrett Graves of Louisiana saying, "We've decided to press pause because it's just not productive." Congress needs to raise the debt limit or the U.S. could potentially default as early as June 1st. The credit crunch prompted by recent bank failures may mitigate the need for higher interest rate hikes. Fed Chair Jerome Powell today said rates may not need to be raised as high as they would otherwise due to credit tightening in the banking sector prompted by the Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank failures. NFL legend Jim Brown is dead at the age of 87. His wife Monique Brown made the announcement on his Instagram account. Sportscaster Jim Gray praised the Hall of Famer.
He was just a bigger-than-life guy. Perhaps the greatest football player ever, still renowned as that.
He retired after 9 years playing with the Cleveland Browns in the 50s and 60s. Brown rushed for over 12,000 yards in his career, as well as 106 rushing touchdowns. A newly unsealed court document shows the FBI misused a digital surveillance tool more than 278,000 times. The agency used the powerful tool on crime victims, those arrested at 2020 protests after the killing of George Floyd, January 6th riot suspects, and in a certain case of 19,000 donors to a congressional candidate. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock is teaming up with Republican John Kennedy of Louisiana on a new bill to cap the cost of insulin for more Americans. Tyreek Wynn has more.
Senator Raphael Warnock says his work within the Senate is a continuation of his lifelong commitment to health care. According to a press release from his team, over 12% of Georgia's population have been diagnosed with diabetes, and insulin can cost people over $600 a month. Last summer, through Senator Warnock's efforts, the Senate passed a bill to cap insulin costs at $35 a month for people on Medicare. But within this new legislation, more individuals will be included.
Folks with private insurance now can have their insulin capped to $35, and also people with no insurance at all. And when we make it affordable for individuals, I think we go a long way with getting healthcare costs under control for our entire system.
He went on to say that the Affordable Insulin Now Act of 2023 is in the best interest for the people of Georgia and across the country.
The lawyer for the pregnant New York City hospital worker who was in a viral confrontation with a young black man over a city bike is blasting the media. Attorney Justin Marino says his client, Bellevue Hospital employee Sarah Comrie, has been unfairly attacked.
She's been called a racist. She's been called a thief. There are reasons defamation laws exist.
It shows Comrie fighting with the man and his friends over who was first to rent the electric bike. Comrie was labeled a Karen on social media and was put on leave by Bellevue, which put out a tweet saying the hospital is committed to cultural sensitivity. Comrie's lawyer says she has receipts proving she paid for the bike first, and there was no reason for race to come into play with this incident. Wendy's is testing an underground robot system to pick up orders. The fast food company is partnering with Pipe Dream, a hyper-logistics company. The instant pickup portals will be next to parking spots, and robots will carry meals underground to customers' cars. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
This report is sponsored by Verizon. Ready to take control of your phone plan? Well, then you better take that next turn to a Verizon store. Because my plan from Verizon is the kind of control we all deserve. Get exactly what you want. Only pay for what you need. Get my plan at your Verizon store today.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development, the El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today for good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Only iHeartRadio gives you access to all of your favorite radio stations.
Rover's Morning Glory.
It's The Woody Show.
It's Elliot in the morning.
All of the once-in-a-lifetime events.
iHeartRadio Music Festival.
All of the best free curated playlists.
It's everything that rocks.
All of the great podcasts for every interest.
This is Freddie Prinze Jr. from the Wrestling with Freddie podcast.
All of the mind-blowing contests.
$20,000.
Awesome. All of your favorite superstars.
This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters.
Best of all, it doesn't cost a thing. Download the absolutely free iHeartRadio app now.
Remember your kids' first steps?
Yes!
Remember that great birthday dinner? Did you remember your anniversary?
Today is,
Well, maybe you'll remember while you're sleeping on the dog bed.
Memories are not made in traffic. Before you leave, remember to check in.
Oh, scoot over, dog.
More living, less driving. Time-saving traffic updates. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of people tuning in, chiming in, adding their 2 cents over there, including... most recently, Edgar Ortiz letting us know he's on board over there, and also, again, dropping those likes and reacts, including James Holmes, Amber Banda, Bernadette Bandicolt, Matt Olson, Ted Kors, Ida Beza Gardner, Austin Redfern, Ion Graham, James Radcliffe, John Browson, Marky Mandingo, Flaco Jimenez, Monica Cervantes, and Robbie Flores. If you appreciate the possibility of talking about the things that affect us in the borderland, and, of course, on Fridays and beyond, you're in the right place as we keep doing what we do. Okay, at least passably best, if not the best around, talking about the things that affect us here, and a lot of other conversation going on about sources and such here. Listen, I don't care who's talking about it. If you think someone's talking about or having people from El Paso on it, particularly talking about local situations, I'm going to ignore it. Well, that's just not the matter of fact there, but just know that you're sounding very much like some of our other more zealous or, shall we say, dogmatic callers in that same kind of way here. But hey, if you want to ignore things, well, you don't have to do much else about that. Let's go back to those phone lines now. That number to do so is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Stephen on the east side here with us right now. Stephen, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew.
Hey there. What's on your
I
mind?
just wanted to start with the comments about the foreigners. I don't think it really matters if it's Old Testament or New Testament or
Fair enough.
Not paying attention to that at all. I think everyone agrees that people shouldn't be oppressed or treated poorly or mistreated and those kinds of things. But at the same time, I don't think it means that people can do things that are illegal, abuse the system, lie about your situation in order to claim that you're seeking asylum and all these things. So I think that they're kind of anyone who tries to use that is misusing it. But that's not really why I called. I kind of wanted to call about the other national news since it is Friday. And I think a couple other callers were talking about the Durham report and the FBI and these kinds of things. And it basically comes down to the weaponization of the government institutions. I think a lot of this started under Obama. They were kind of spying and hacking some news reporters that they felt were maybe threatening to the administration. And they used the intelligence agencies to go after these reporters. That all happened started under the Obama administration, and weaponizing the IRS against certain conservative organizations. Remember that Lois Lerner had to plead the fifth on that one. So this is a continuation of that where, the FBI, it turns out from this Durham report, dropped like 4 different investigations into Hillary Clinton.
Right.
And of course, they allowed her to wipe her secret server that she kind of had off of the official books so that she could wipe things without having all that information coming out, because I think it would find basically what this report was saying, among other things, that this was a kind of a plan, and it was basically what they called the Clinton plan, was to smear Donald Trump with the accusation that he was working with Russia. They knew that it wasn't real. They knew that the Steele report was bogus. And the Pfizer reports, if you're going to launch an investigation and start spying on somebody, you have to have verified information. And they knew this was not verified information, but they decided to spy on him anyways. And Donald Trump was right about that, even though if it wasn't spying on him directly, the way those rules work, I think it's Carter Page or someone in his administration, you have 2 steps away from that person that you can also spy on according to those rules. But of course, they broke the rules in order to start that investigation. And so I think this is really important because a lot of the Democrats claim that they care about democracy and they care about the rule of law and making sure our democracy is working. But all of these things about Russia supposedly influencing our elections by posting they had some trolls posting things on Facebook, and supposedly that through the election for Donald Trump. But if you think about it, Russia doesn't have nearly the power to influence our elections as our own FBI, NSA, CIA has. And I think it's very scary that half of the country is basically okay with the idea of these deep state people who are in the bureaucracy, in the administrations, in the NSA, FBI, CIA, willing to pull these strings, spy on political opponents, go after these campaigns, come up with these lies that they then feed out to the news agencies like CNN and MSNBC, and just feed these lies out in order to manipulate the American public and basically throw the election for one side or another. And I'm telling you that the reason why that these deep state people and these intelligence agencies prefer the Democrats over the Republicans and why they're willing to throw things their way is because Democrats are big government people. They like big government. They want bigger, more powerful federal government. And so they're willing to throw the scales to keep their own power in place because they're going to keep the game going. They're going to keep feeding that money to those agencies and keep them going, keep their government pensions. They're going to be set for life, especially with all these foreign business deals that they can pull strings on with these foreign governments to pad their pockets. So that's basically what's going on. And my last comment was about that January 6th of all the conspiracy theories that Republicans have been talking about that ended up coming true. It's kind of tied to this kidnapping plot that happened with those, I think it was like 12 people had this kidnapping plot. Half of them were FBI agents. And I think the next thing that you're going to find out is that there was a lot of FBI agents involved in January 6th. And there were so many in there. They knew that this insurrection was going to happen. They knew that this plan to go into the Capitol was going to happen. They had a bunch of people embedded with those groups. They knew it was going to happen, and they could have stopped it with extra security, but they purposely didn't. And that's my conjecture. But what is not conjecture is that there's 11,000 hours of Capitol video that was not released. Remember, Tucker Carlson had access to some of the video. They didn't give him some, and the reason why they didn't give him those 11,000 hours is because I bet you it's got a bunch of FBI agents who are pretending to be Trump protesters involved. And that's, a little bit of conjecture on my part, but it is true that there's missing 11,000 hours that they don't want to release, and I suspect that's why. So we found out this much so far, and I think that will be what we find out in the future.
Well, we'll see about that. Again, I'm been in favor for a long time of being a full, in-depth investigation into January 6th beyond the, Capitol hearings, which were primarily focused on the political consequences, because that's what those type of hearings are about, not even as trying to pull a hot take on it, but literally by design. But I will say this, I'm going to go back even a little bit further than the FISA court. I mean, back in 2016, when it was the, Comey investigation into the Clinton and the Clinton families, the email servers, those kind of things, there were people at that point on the left upset about that and the shades of it. I mean, that's where when you get some of the phrases that are still getting thrown around. Would never vote for someone who was under a federal investigation, those kind of things. So they still have some impacts to this day here. And so anytime we start seeing law enforcement tools used for political purposes, whether it be in the investigations, the specter of them, or things like that. And I mean, so this does end up going both ways, in both negative directions towards either side of the aisle. Well, if you don't like what's going on with it, it'll obviously make you say, oh, why are they picking on my guy, so to speak? But also in general, more objectively, it seriously has there's just big questions that come up about, okay, I mean, we are supposed to have protections within the Constitution, for Fifth Amendment, search and seizures, a reasonable speedy trial, all of these kind of things that are supposed to exist for everyone. But of course, there's, idea of reading in between the lines. And so the core point is that if it's not being handled levelly, objectively, and evenly across the board, it leads to implications, allegations along these lines. And again, the stuff in the much more recent Durham report it's at the very least, it's not a good look. I'll stand by that take on that at this point in time, and particularly that use of that tool. So I'm not going to be 100% with you on the massive implications towards January 6th. I still think that anyone involved in that pretty much made their bed when they lied on it. But I will say this, that the FBI, its use of this, and frankly, the oversight that needs to come into it, those are some of the bigger things I expect to come out of this, because anytime we've got these massively powerful tools, and they're only going to get more powerful with the advent of, as much as we've skirted around this topic, artificial intelligence, a lot of these different tools, a lot of these different techniques have been subject to the manpower that can be put into it. I mean, sure, there can be so many, not exactly the 11,000 hours you're talking about, but that order of magnitude, if not more, of information being gathered, it then takes, as previously taken, individual people to go through it. But if we start talking about, AI influenced technology and be able to comb through and effectively sort, terabytes, if not more, of data at a single point in time, that could lead to aggregate gathering becoming even more powerful and therefore potentially dangerous if not handled incredibly carefully.
Yeah, let me be clear. I don't agree with the people who went in January 6th and committed any kind of violence whatsoever. I was never in favor of that. In fact, I was quite upset that happened, because they were going to that day, on that same day, they were going to also, in addition to the vote, they were going to address some issues, some questions about the election. And I was very upset that these rioters basically threw that investigation off. And I look at those people like useful idiots, because they basically gave the Democrats an excuse to smear everybody who ever voted for Trump for supposedly being against democracy or whatever. Those small group of idiots who basically threw off the investigation election. And also, it was a way to shut up anybody who had questions about the election. Now, I don't know if there was actually, ballot harvesting that was illegal, that was, that through the election or whatever. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think it's been demonstrated that the administration and the FBI and CIA were doing investigations and things to hinder the candidates that they didn't like, principally Donald Trump. And that's enough to throw an election right there. Like I said, the influence of a few Russian bots on Facebook is nothing compared to what was going on between the intelligence agencies, communications with CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, and all these things, and putting Donald Trump to look like he's some kind of foreign agent. So that's way more influential. In fact, they drug out that Mueller investigation for 2 whole years to get them through the midterm elections, to influence the midterm elections. They knew way before the midterm elections that was all bogus, but they drag out the investigation to hurt Trump's administration. So there you go. You've got deep state actors who are hurting our democratic process. Donald Trump won that election, and they were willing and able to stop him from succeeding in his goals and making him look real bad, and actually making him worse, because he became paranoid, and partly rightly so, because of the weaponization of these people against him.
Let me put it this way. When it comes down to voting in elections, there have been, I think, far too many people, even in other campaigns, locally and some national ones I've seen, where people have been putting forth like, hey, well, this is what we got to do to get into this, deal with the next primaries, the elections. I've heard and seen way too many people saying, why even bother? And any conclusion that ends up coming down to less action being necessary is one that, in general, I'm not going to support, because the idea of, oh, well, what does it matter? Why do I bother anyway? I mean, you want to look and bring this back right home in our area. We had just this, pretty consequential election that had some slightly better turnout that was expected, but we barely hit double digits. And I'm going to be floored if in this runoff election for the school board, a bunch of seats on there, which has been also very much a discussion at issue. I'm going to be surprised if we end up hitting double digits out on that. So, and they actually have the information up on that one now, epcountyvotes.com. Early voting starting end of this month, May 30th. So we're almost there with election day, June 10th. So I've just seen way too much along the lines of what you're talking about. And I'm not accusing you of it specifically, but of saying that, hey, why bother? Just don't vote and don't even go out to it. Which is, I mean, if you truly think that something is under threat and contravention, I would think that even more effort would be necessary. So that's my perspective on it, kind of in the nutshell.
Yeah, I agree. I think everyone should be involved, and I hope enough people wake up and realize that I think there's the crazies out there that we hear a lot of, but I think there's just regular people who have tended to vote Democrat. I hope that they realize that this weaponization of the government against political candidates and manipulating the public and for example, the Biden administration convinced these CIA and officials to go out there and basically lie about the Hunter Biden laptop. And so they basically use these administrative officials to push out their version of the story and make it sound legit. And they basically fool a lot of people. And I think that's very, very dangerous. So people need to wake up to that. And like you were saying earlier, it wouldn't be good if the other side started doing it. If the Republicans got in power and they use those, say, okay, it's all fair game now, we're going to do the same thing to the other side that you guys did to us. That's not good. We don't want that in this
Absolutely
country.
not. I mean, if there's ever a political power, tool, position, etc., that exists that would be fine if, speaking in general for anyone out there, be fine if you, your party, your people were in charge of it, but would scare the bejesus out of you if someone opposite or not of your political views aligned had control over it. Maybe that power shouldn't exist. And I'm always going to come back to that one. So appreciate the point in the call. Hope you have a good one there and a good weekend as well.
You too. Take care.
All right, with that, we got to take that next break right now. Keep getting into these discussions, but we'll get to more of them as we can throughout the rest of this hour. So that number again, if you want to get on the line, is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Heavy traffic starting to build up on the I-10 westbound from the Loop to the Patriot with 5-minute delays. Southbound on the 54 Patriot at the I-10, exit 21A, the right interchange ramp is blocked due to heavy congestion. An earlier accident in the Upper Valley on North Desert at Artcraft is cleared. All lanes are back open. And eastbound Montana slow from Admiral out to Zaragoza, 10-minute delays. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Bank of America. Bank of America has powerful digital solutions for local and global businesses, so you can make every move matter. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America, N.A., copyright 2023.
A catalytic converter is an important component of your car's exhaust system. They can cost several $1,000s to replace. Cats can be removed in under a minute and have a high scrap value. Keep your vehicle safe from cat burglars. Park in well-lit areas. Install a protective device. Have your VIN number etched onto your catalytic converter. It's a total catastrophe. If your catalytic converter is stolen, lock it down. Learn more at lockitdowntx.com. Brought to you by the Insurance Council of Texas and the Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority.
Okay, so we have the car payment, the rent, utilities,
and the repair bill.
What should we do?
I know. I'm going to CashNetUSA.com. I can apply in minutes, get an instant decision, and if approved, we could have the money in our account as soon as the same business day.
When you need money fast, be the hero. Go to CashNetUSA.com to apply for the money you need now. The exact timing as to when your loan funds will be available will be determined by your banking institution.
Ask Sherwin-Williams and get 35% off Emerald products and Super Deck stains May 19th through the 22nd. That means 35% off our most popular color family, blue. Psychologists have found it to be soothing and relaxing, which makes it especially great for bedrooms and bathrooms. And of course, get 35% off all of our other colors. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Finding great people to hire can be like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Their powerful matching technology delivers so many qualified candidates, it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. For less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Next Thursday, you will be caught in an extreme flash flood.
Disasters don't plan ahead, but you can. Talk to your loved ones about making an emergency plan. Get started today at ready.gov/plan. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, more or less the main one where most of the comments come in, and the Thunderdome comments definitely starts to develop just about each and every day. But, of course, we've got those phone lines open now. To have a line available if you want to squeeze on, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Doing our level best to get in all that we can before the end of the show for the day and this week. But don't worry, we still got a little bit more time to go here. So let's dive right back in on it. We do have on the line with us right now, we do have Raul in the Northeast with us right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. To your previous caller, Trump weaponized the FBI and the IRS, tasking his people to have those organizations investigate his critics. Now the Durham report didn't exonerate Trump or unscrew him. And the report doesn't change the fact that Trump's son, Moron Jr., and Trump's son-in-law, Jared, and Trump's campaign manager, who was prosecuted and in jail and then pardoned by Trump, Manafort, met with Putin's people at Trump Tower to get dirt on Hillary Clinton. Or the fact that Putin told the world that he wanted Trump to win the presidency and tasked his people to help him, and that Trump bent over to take Putin's help. Now, about El Paso, media, El Paso Matters had an article about a new study that was done by a professor at the University of Texas at El Paso and El Pasoans for Fighting Hunger that has found that 35% of El Pasoans and 61% of UTEP students are food insecure. Now, according to this woman, Susan Goodell, who is the CEO for El Paso's Fighting Hunger, these numbers are more than double that of national estimates. And she says that the implications for society that we live in are shocking, undoubtedly so. It's very, very sad. She says that she hopes the study captures the attention of our elected officials and community, and that when you have a community with 1 in 3 people being food insecure, that has enormous implications for our society. I would much rather have seen our taxes spent helping these people rather than financing the construction of some plutocrat's toy baseball park downtown, or for a trolley that's been another money loser, or to return to the moon or go to Mars, or to help dictators throughout the world, or to fight unnecessary and unjust wag-the-dog wars. So it's a very, very sad situation. Since my days as a student at Jesuit High School, followed by studying business and social studies and philosophy and education, I have been in search for the truth in order to determine what's right and wrong, what is moral and ethical, as opposed to what's immoral or amoral, to discriminate between reality and fantasy, to have the capacity to identify facts from fiction, to successfully solve problems, to capitalize on opportunities, to identify successful methodologies for understanding the nature of reality, like the scientific method in the physical sciences and mathematics, and the critical and skeptical method and statistics in the social sciences. And these are some of the things that I think students should be taught, along with personal finance, entrepreneurship, and the history of great entrepreneurs. We're really missing the mark on these things, and you have a party that now wants to, I guess, whitewash history. And in the end, I think they're going to want to whitewash what happened on January 6th. See, that's what they're heading to. And they don't want the American people to know what really happened there any more than they really want them to know what happened with the founding of this country. A theft and genocide of the Native Americans by people who were capitalists and claimed to be Christians, the stealing of people's labor and enslavement of people, and then treating them like second-class citizens for another 150 years. Now, I was blessed by my parents and lucky to have chosen to go to Jesuit high school rather than Cathedral or Burgess. And interestingly, I chose Jesuit because some of my friends were from St. Joseph were going there, and I really liked their newly remodeled campus in the Lower Valley, which in 1965 was out in the country. And that was opposed to Cathedral, which looked like a dump in the middle of the city. Now, do you know very much about the Jesuits, Andrew?
Yeah, the general order of religious order that it is.
Yeah, what do you know about them?
Yeah, they are very interested in putting out information. I mean, there's a number of schools that have been founded by them. You know, Georgetown University comes to mind as one of them in our nation's capital.
There you go, and Loyola and Fordham. Georgetown, by the way, is the oldest Catholic university in the United States. Fordham was the first and oldest Catholic university in New York City. And, of course, they have the Loyola schools and Holy Cross and Boston College and Marymount. These guys were something else, let me tell you. They were very strict, but most of them were excellent teachers, armed with the Jesuits' powerfully interesting pedagogy called context, which structures their social studies curriculum and assigned books based on what was going on in the world at the time and the history of how it got to where it was. The Jesuits, at the time that I was at Jesuit High School, I was studying the Vietnam War. We were studying the environmental movement. We were studying poverty, racism, and discrimination in America. We were studying, debating, and writing about Latin American, U.S. Latin American policy. All of these things, which I can guarantee you that my friends at the public schools were not reading. There's no way in the world. When we read about the conquest of Mexico, we read it in the original Spanish by Bernal Díaz de Castillo's account of the verdadera conquista de Mexico, the most authoritative account of the conquest of Mexico from the Spaniard side. The Jesuits, they've been involved in education, research, and cultural pursuits, and started missions throughout the world in the 16th and 17th century. And they had both successes and failures in Christianizing the native peoples. I eventually rolled into an agnostic, even after 4 years of Jesuit education and another 8 at St. Joseph at the Sisters of Loreto. And they actually threatened to not graduate me for skipping senior mass day, which other students were doing, but my religion teacher told me was part of my class. And I was one of the best students in his class. And I told him to go for it. Don't graduate me if that's what you're going to do, because I didn't go to church on senior class day. And in the end, he didn't flunk me with my A+ grade in his religious class. So, I mean, these are the things that young people today don't get the experience. And we got a party that wants to eviscerate the public school systems. They want that tax dollar available so that these people who can afford to send their kids to private school and spend an extra $10,000 per student to get them into those schools, or rather than having them in the public schools, which if they do that, they're just going to make them even weaker, even less capable of helping all these El Pasoans, the 61% of UTED students who are insecure, the 1 out of 3 El Pasoans who are food insecure in this country. That's the kind of party that's in Washington, D.C., running the House right now. And it is really a really sad situation what we're headed for. I hope we're not heading for more violence, as if we don't have enough, where no one is safe anywhere, anytime in this country because of all the guns out there and the nuts with the guns. Very, very sad.
I mean, yeah, the El Paso Matters article that we started talking about there, out as of this week, technically Wednesday. Yeah, new study, 35% of El Pasoans, 61% of UTEP students are food insecure. And as I spoke with, again, Susan Goodell, CEO of the El Pasoans Fighting Hunger Food Bank, who we've had on this show multiple times and have had vociferous support for, because they do a lot of important work in and around this region. But what I'll say on the education part that we eventually got around to there, making sure I'm following the threads correctly here, about the availability and particularly that Jesuit education, it strikes me as interesting that, I mean, there's been a lot of the conversation going around with, the statewide, either you want to call it the vouchers, school choice in general, I think is the broadest phrase that could be used for it, because whether it looks as vouchers, savings accounts, what have you, that much is still either circling the drain, frankly, with the end of this session coming close, though Governor Greg Abbott is sure to fish that one out, even if it does go down, because calling a special session. But the thing that occurs to me is that particularly that Jesuit education you're talking about, often religious-based schools, and therefore not subject to availability for average students or people who are without the exact means you're talking about, wouldn't pay for all of it, at least not in some of the proposals we've seen so far. I mean, there's like $8,000 or so as some of the proposals I've been seeing kicked around. And of course, there's also more money being talked about giving to the school districts. One of the major sticking points there in Texas anyway has, of course, been that it would, there's a supposition that it might gut local school districts, which are mainstays of public life in some of these particularly smaller rural areas. But the point that strikes me as interesting then is that possibility of having these school choice vouchers, savings accounts, what have you, would make it more feasible that other students would be able to enjoy that same type or kind of education that you have. Now, of course, would like everyone to do so. I think I did pretty well in my public school education, going through some of the, gifted and talented humanities programs that gave me a lot of the tools for the inquiry that we apply even to the situations we talk about here and go through every day today, and take me well throughout my school and secondary education career. But I guess if you don't like the idea of it being religiously motivated, I don't know. It seems like you're kind of on the fence about that, I'll say there. But let's go ahead and take that next break right now. Appreciate the point in the call as much as I think I followed all of it. Let's go ahead and take that break. Coming out of this break, we got more calls, more comments, more of everything we're going to squeeze in before the end of the hour here on the line. So if you want to get on that line, squeeze it in, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 News Update. A 25-year-old teacher in El Paso has been arrested on murder charges in connection to a deadly beating that happened 2 years ago. Matthew Mendoza was arrested yesterday at MacArthur Pre-K through 8 school on the east side. The murder charge stems from an incident that happened in August of 2021. Eric Hernandez was identified as the murder victim. Mendoza is accused of striking Hernandez with a steering wheel lock, which is believed to have killed Hernandez. All El Paso water parks will not be opening until Memorial Day weekend. This comes after a 3-year-old boy drowned at a city park in northeast El Paso last weekend. According to a statement from the city of El Paso, in light of recent events, we want to ensure that we are providing not only great customer service, but also a safe and healthy environment for the upcoming summer season. This has been your KFOX 14 News Update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Slow traffic on the I-10 westbound from the Loop to the Patriot. It's a 7-minute delay. An accident in the I-10 eastbound at Eastlake. That earlier crash has been moved to the right shoulder. Everything's off to the right, and all lanes are back open. Eastbound Montana from Admiral out to Zaragoza, 11-minute delays. And watch for an injury accident downtown Santa Fe at Wyoming. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Weather changes on the way for your Saturday. A front is going to be blowing in overnight tonight. That's going to keep our highs in the upper 70s to lower 80s, so a cooler one for tomorrow. Also, we're going to see a 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms for your Saturday. Keep an eye to the sky if you have outdoor plans. For your Sunday, partly cloudy skies as drier conditions return. We'll see highs in the mid to upper 80s on Sunday. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by STEM.
Staples Print and Marketing Services help small business print big. Now get $15 off signs, banners, and posters when you spend $75 or more. Offer ends July 1st. Visit staples.com/printbig for details. This is your sign to try Staples, where your prints are perfect guaranteed.
I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter, that Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, and that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Ricardo, quote, "This is one of the greatest inventions ever. I know this may sound like I'm exaggerating, but this sucker is amazing. The first time I did it, I couldn't believe what came out of my sinuses. I could breathe with ease. My wife just bought one too. Thank you for this product," unquote. He's one of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage, the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, Navage, clean nose, healthy life.
Need to hire? Need Indeed. Their hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates in one place. Sponsor a job and immediately get a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit. This report is sponsored by Indeed.com.
Because you never hear this.
Hey, hon, I'm late. Chris, I am so pleased you missed the beginning of our meeting.
Thanks for making me wait, Dad. I talked to a lot of strangers.
Check on your commute. Stay informed. Traffic and weather all day. Or you might never hear the end of it.
Well, you were late to our anniversary dinner that one time.
Yes, how could I forget?
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. Oh, some comments coming in about school choice and things like that. Seriously, anyone who is saying that, well, just quote directly, McNabb saying, Polk pushing his right-wing propaganda right on cue, advocating the dismantling of public schools. Go back and seriously listen to that comment. If you think I'm seriously advocating for it, I think you need to look at your own biases there, my dude. But in any case, whether or not what it happens in Texas or not still remains to be seen. I fully expect we're going to end up going to a special session within the state legislature because this has been one of Governor Greg Abbott's big items, and he ain't going to let it down easy. So I think some version of it, at the very least, he has to find a compromise that saves him some face at the very least, even if there is. I mean, there's been pushback from rural Republicans on this, even within the state. So as much as there may be major single-party control within the Texas legislature, that does not mean that there aren't different factions that are very disagreeing with each other on certain aspects of it. So we'll see what actually ends up happening. But I would say one of the things that I'm more in favor of is I think it's like 5 billion, maybe 15 billion. The numbers, billion here, billion there. You start talking about real money when it comes to the legislature about funding being sent to public schools, more on the part of property tax reform, because by making it so that they have less they need to tax from the property taxes, makes some of the other parts of it more viable. The actual formulas that are also getting debated. We're going to go right down to the wire with this session, folks. That's my full expectation. Anyway, let's get at least another call or two on the line here right now. Again, that number 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM if you want to squeeze in. But let's go ahead and get to Luis and Isleta on the line with us here right now. Luis, thanks for joining us.
Hello there, Andrew. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you just fine. What's on your mind?
Okay, just real quick. I want to read something off real quick, and then I'll pick up the phone from the Mueller report. Russian intelligence officers launched a concerted attack on our political system. While this report does not conclude that the president committed a crime, it also does not exonerate him. It says at the beginning, and this is the last part, and then I'll pick up the phone because I want to talk to you about. Beginning in 2017, the president of the United States, Trump, took a variety of actions towards the ongoing FBI investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election and related matters that raised questions about whether he had obstructed justice. All right. So, there you go. So, I apologize. Thanks for bearing with me.
Yeah,
now,
sure.
what I want to tell you is that that's a Mueller report,
Right.
This last report that came out, I believe, was one of Barr's, for a lack of a better word, Andrew, political hacks he put out so he can investigate the investigators.
Sure.
Earlier you had a young man, very, very animated, and that's a good thing. But Paul Manafort, and please don't take my word for it. I want you to check everything I said after the fact.
Sure.
Actually worked in Ukraine for Putin's puppet, the guy with the golden, with that big private house that he had over there in Ukraine after they run him off. Do you know who I'm talking about? I don't remember his name.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
I do, but not offhand either.
Okay, great. Well, he was hired by that administration there to make him look good. Do you know who came up with the lock her up theme there?
No, I never actually knew of a specific frame for like a credit for who got it.
Let me tell you, man. And I want you to double check this because I want
Sure.
your listeners to not think that I'm talking out of my you-know-what. He is the one who started with the lock her up for a lady in Ukraine that was running for president. Putin's puppet actually jailed her for 2 years. A pretty lady that had a braid around her head. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I think so.
Okay. So how does someone like Manafort end up in the Trump's campaign at the very moment of the Republican convention is a good one that I would like to try to figure out. That, to me, that's the direct connection between the Trump administration and Russian intelligence.
One of the questions coming up being, I think I'm pronouncing this one right, Poroshenko?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got to take your word for it. I don't, that the guy that they run off that was Putin's puppet.
Okay, not the braid one, but was a deputy of Ukraine.
I apologize. You were talking about the lady. Okay, is that her name? Okay.
No, not the
jailed
lady.
for 2
I
years.
think. I think Poroshenko was a people's deputy of Ukraine during the time before the most recent leadership has been in place there. During that real kind of contentious time, served as the fifth president from 2014 to 2019.
Okay, well, I'm talking about the time of that guy that was run off that took off to Russia. He was Putin's puppet.
So
we all know he was Putin's puppet. That's a fact. And so that's where that
the previous guy. Okay, now I'm with you.
From.
The one that there was essentially the minor revolution in Maidan Square over.
Was it the Orange? Is that what they call it over there? The Orange Revolution? Anyway.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, I just want to, we're all these guys that love Trump, and that's, God bless them. They love this guy, and that's great. But, that's a pretty intense little thing I just told you, and so you did this going back and forth that it was just YouTubers, and no, sir, man, we know exactly where they were sitting in Russia. Our intelligence knows, and that's got to be concerning to even them. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, let's just say that anytime that there is even the smacking of foreign interference, as much as it's been coming up in some global news this week about there being, even in like Pakistan and that whole situation with Imran Khan, even the idea of there being a foreign name mentioned has had some electoral consequences going on over there. I mean, we've often thought ourselves immune to it, but I mean, it's very much been a fact of the matter that it's been of interest of other countries to have some kind of influence or ability to exert influence on our elections. Now, whether or not it reached a level higher than just putting out information or bad information as it was, I haven't seen anything that particularly convinces me of beyond that point. And I think who we're talking about here, as I've been doing some hastily Googling in the background, it was Viktor Yanukovych, the president of Ukraine in 2014 until he was essentially deposed based on
working for other governments, and you can read up to it. I'm not going to be the one to tell you what he's done, but bad news. I would never want him on my campaign if I was running for anything, But and then another thing I was going to tell you, and I've lost track. Well, I just wanted to make that point, and you know, let's. I know that all of a sudden your friend from the Northeast, or our friend from the Northeast, that the Biden administration did this, and that, like if they're there, you know, it's kind of wild for me to swallow. But I want to finish off by just saying that I think that Biden's doing a great job. I don't want him to back down from his stance that he has nothing to do with the debt ceiling. We need to pay our bills. All that stuff was already done in committees, and Republicans and Democrats came together and is trying to stop him from his what he wants to do is not correct. I think Kevin McCarthy's barking up the wrong tree. I'm hoping that Biden does not go the way of Obama when Obama reached out with an olive branch to the Republicans back when he kind of did that, and we got hurt anyway. So now, if we're gonna play that game, then let's go down that rabbit hole. And the only people that I can blame is Kevin McCarthy and all these Boebert and Green, all these people that are out there, Andrew. And it'll be their fault if we do that. All right?
Okay, I get what you're saying. I'm very much less interested in the blame game than I am on seeing it get done. I mean, I've heard people putting out in calls, including in some of our news updates, if I'm not mistaken, for enacting of the Section 4 of the 14th Amendment in order to the part that says validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, et cetera, shall not be questioned. And we'll see what can happen there. But we'll see what comes there. But I think that, stepping away from the edge is the most important thing, because I think some people out there may be under the mistaken idea that this would just be another government shutdown, another lack of funding, whereas this goes way, way, way farther than that.
We're not whistling Dixie here, man. This is for real, and you know, we just need to pay that bill, and then that's why we have the floor of Congress and the committees to fight this out for the future. Keep in mind, it's a fact, and I know that people don't like to hear. 25% of our was put by the last regime, and you know, we just got to pay our bills and stop this silliness about I'm going to demand something. You know, if you compare Kevin McCarthy's area there, the people he represents, to the people that actually voted for Biden, which was the rest of the country, 82 million, the most ever by anyone running for president. That should tell you something right there.
Well, I mean, we'll see what comes out of it this week. I mean, they were maybe going to resume negotiations today. I'm assuming if they haven't by this point. I mean, it's already 8 o'clock there Eastern time, so I doubt that's going to have happened. But we technically got till the end of the month, is the estimations.
14 midnight. I think there's some Republicans that are also talking that way. I hope so. I hope that we can. You know what I mean? But I don't know.
Well, we'll see. There are some novel ideas that come along with it that we might discuss a little bit later. But do appreciate your point in your call. Have a good one.
Thank you. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you in the future.
Yeah, you as well there. So let's go ahead and take that next break right now. Coming out of this, tell you what we got coming up for you on the show as well for this weekend. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. A 25-year-old teacher in El Paso has been...
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Northbound on the Patriot at Dyer Street, a couple of stalled trucks with trailers are blocking the left shoulder. 54 southbound from Stan Roberts to Kenworthy, we're looking at a whopping 40-minute delay. Northbound Mesa Street from the downtown exits up to Donovan and Country Club, that's a 5-minute delay. And police are still working an injury accident downtown Santa Fe at Wyoming. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples Print and Marketing Services help small business print big. Now get $15 off signs, banners, and posters when you spend $75 or more. Offer ends July 1st. Visit staples.com/printbig for details. This is your sign to try Staples, where your prints are perfect guaranteed.
No, not now.
That sounds like it's gonna cost you.
I know what to do. I'm going to cashnetusa.com. I can apply in minutes, get an instant decision, and if approved, I could have the money in my account as soon as the same business day.
When you need money fast, be the hero. Go to cashnetusa.com to apply for the money you need now. The exact timing as to when your loan funds will be available will be determined by your banking institution.
A catalytic converter is an important component of your car's exhaust system. They can cost several $1,000s to replace. Cats can be removed in under a minute and have a high scrap value. Keep your vehicle safe from cat burglars. Park in well-lit areas. Install a protective device. Have your VIN number etched onto your catalytic converter. It's a total catastrophe. If your catalytic converter is stolen, lock it down. Learn more at lockitdowntx.com. Brought to you by the Insurance Council of Texas and the Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T.
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The patented key ingredient is something called Testofen, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text Rocky to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text ROCKY to 42424. That's Rocky to 42424.
For more than 45 years, the El Paso Community Foundation has worked with individuals and nonprofits to address the unique opportunities and challenges in our vibrant multicultural community. Every dollar goes to bettering our region. For more information about the foundation, establishing a fund of your own, or giving to an existing fund or project, go to epcf.org. That's epcf.org. For good, for El Paso, forever.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for having joined us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. We've covered quite a lot of ground today. I think we did a pretty good showing, as well as we do most of the days this week. Some of the things we're working on for you. Again, not sure if we'll be able to get anyone on from our local state delegation, given that we are in super crunch time. Like, basically last week is the last week of this session of the Texas legislature, but we'll definitely be keeping our eye on what's going on with that and there, as well as some of those other things percolating out from the city, including that disaster declaration, the extensions of them or not, as well as more of those border security and immigration issues. Now they got some confirmation about that balloon being tethered out there. I'll have to look further into that one here. But, of course, coming up this weekend, we have an encore edition of the El Paso History Radio Show about the recent designation of Kasner Range as a now national monument, talking with some of the people most involved in that effort for decades now, as well as some other events going on. So we'll have to leave it there for today because we are super out of time here for this show. Of course, we got a lot more coming up the next week. We'll see what happens with the debt ceiling fight. One comment I wanted to get to there, besides Ed Clore saying that got some oceanfront property in Arizona to sell me. Yeah, fair enough. But also the idea of printing more money. There is an idea that's been floated of creating $1 trillion solid platinum coins as a way of paying for those debts. I've heard that first floated some years ago, but it seems more serious this time. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it. Anyway, we'll have to leave it there for today. I want to thank everyone that did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show in any way. If you want to talk about the issues that affect us here in the borderland and beyond, you're in the right places. We do that every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. So until then, until next time, until next week, I want you all to stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great weekend, y'all. We'll see you on Monday.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Northbound on the Patriot at Dyer Street, a couple of stalled trucks with trailers are blocking the left shoulder. 54 southbound from Stan Roberts to Kenworthy, we're looking at a whopping 40-minute delay. Northbound Mesa Street from the downtown exits up to Donovan and Country Club, that's a 5-minute delay. And police are still working an injury accident downtown Santa Fe.